Okay, this video is going to be about the create options for each and also for using loop iteration. So from the manual we can read about the create option, and here you can see that we have this option for each, which means you can actually then loop through and say for each day, week, month, quarter, year, weekday, weekend day, between a date and a closing date, and you can do something. So this comes about when you need to create a number of different records based on some iterating number. You can see here that this also has in here for each number, each file, and of course the other one was for each day, week, whatever. Okay. So how do we use these? If we just scroll down a little bit further, we can actually see a little bit of extra information about the create for each, which has something called loop iteration. Right? So loop iteration is basically a holder for what the current counter is in any for each. So in this particular instance, we're talking about for each file. Right? So they actually look at the file name, and it assigns the file name to, we assign the file name to a transaction.file name, and it's whatever the file name is in the current loop iteration. So essentially, whatever you're looping, the one you're up to in the progression of the loop is actually held in the loop iteration. So anyway, without much further ado, let's actually look at getting some of this and seeing some of this in action. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new business space, and we'll call this business space, let's call it loop demo. There we go. So we can test some of the different features of this. I'm going to create a new business object, which is the business object that I want to create multiple instances of. So I'm going to call this, loop date. Okay, and I'll put in a date here. And I'll put in a, I'll call it record counter. And I'll add in here a description. Okay, so create that. Now what I want to do is I want to have a query to be able to look at them all. So let's go all loop dates. And I want to see the date. I'll put the record counter in the middle and the description. Right. Alright, so while I'm testing this, I want to have a process to be able to delete them all so I can run the trial again. So let's just create a quick process. Delete, I'll go clean report, clean for loop date. And we'll put this here. We'll create the first rule. Okay. That's fine, and we'll put that as a button on the top of our query so we can run that easily. And there it is there. Okay. And so we can run this also easily. We'll just put it in the administrator visual perspective main screen. There's our query, all loop dates. Okay, so what we want to do now is we need a way to let's for example, we want to enter 2 dates, and we want to create a number of records and a record for each date between those 2 dates. So first of all, we need somewhere to store those dates. So the most convenient place would be in the regular user. So let's go into the regular user and add in a date start, date, and a date end, so date finish we call it, finish. Date finish, okay, and while we're here we'll create a new form to be able to edit those 2 dates. So let's go enter date range is the name of the form, and we'll go into here and we'll get rid of all this stuff up here, delete that, and we'll make the label a bit wider. Do that, we'll make this form say 600 pixels wide, and I like to put my buttons to the right, so it should be like that. Okay. Alright, so our first demonstration is we want to be able to enter a start date, an end date, and create a record for every date in between. Okay? So let's create a process, and we'll call this process create every date. Okay. The textual rules, we'll create our first rule, and we'll go enter date range, and we'll just go view loop date, view regular user using date range. Okay. So that lets us enter those dates, and then we'll create a new rule, and this one now is going to do our create loop. Okay. So create instance for every date. Now, so let's just make this a little bit wider so we can see it. So what we have, if we look back at our here, we want a create. We want to create loop date for every day between the start date and the end date. So that's pretty simple. Okay. So let's go here. Let's do that. So create loop date for each day between logged in regular user dot date start and logged in, and it doesn't actually show you the hint for that, user dot date finish. Okay, so that will create those dates. So it'll create a number of records that there are between the dates, but we need to actually assign a value of date to each one of them. So we can add in here with loop date dot date equal to loop iteration. So each time it goes through and creates one, the loop iteration has the current date as we progress from the start date to the finish date, and we assign that to the loop date date. So let's try this and see how it works. Okay. I've got the wrong regular user in here. This should be logged in regular user. Okay. Okay. Let's try this. So it's called loop. Over here, and we'll add a button on the top, and we'll call this one every day. Start a process and create every day. Put it under test and try again. So now we've got every day. So we want to So here we enter our start date now, finish date, and this is the start date, finish date that are in the logged in regular user business object. So let's go pick the date, 1st to the 31st, and I'll save it. And you'll see now it's created a record for every day from the 1st to the 31st. Great. That's exactly what we wanted to do. But now what we'd like to do is actually have the record counter in there. Okay. So let's create another one to see how we do that. So let's just delete all those, we don't need them anymore. So what we'll do is, this is our every date. Let's copy this and paste it. And we'll call this one every date. I want to have a record counter for every date with record counter. Okay. So we'll modify this. So the first rule is going to be exactly the same, but this rule is going to be a little bit different. And of course we want to have a number. We can do it one of two ways. We can actually loop through dates and then calculate the day difference, or we can loop through numbers and then calculate the prospective date. So let's just take this little bit off here. And what we want to do is we want to say, change this, we're not going to for each day, we're going to say for each number. We're going to create a loop date for each number between, we're going to have 0, and so now we want to have the number of days. Well, we've got the start date and end date, so we can actually get the number of days between them using the day difference function. So let's just go to here, you'll see day difference here, day difference, and we've got the day difference of logged in user dot date start, and let's just copy and paste that. Date finish. Okay. And now we want to assign the values. So that now does our loop. So with, and our loop date dot record counter is just going to equal loop iteration. Now, if we think about that, we're starting at 0, so we don't really want it to be start at 0, we want it to start at 0 plus 1. So let's go add 1. Okay, and our loop date, how do we get the date? We really want the add date to use date add from the start date to the count of the loop iteration. So we want to go loop date dot date equals, and we've got a function here called date add, and it will be the logged in regular user dot date start, and the number of days will be loop iteration. Not sure that's okay. Yeah, it's fine. So we'll change this to create instance for every date with record counter. Okay. So there we are. Just to run through that again. So we're going to create a loop date for every number between 0 and whatever the day difference is. So this should be 31. All right, that should be 30 because 1 minus the other plus 1. With loop date record counter equals the loop iteration plus 1. So when it's 0, that's going to be 1. When it's 30, it's going to be 31. Perfect. And loop date.date equals the date add of the start date plus the loop iteration. Okay, sounds okay. Let's try it. So first of all, we want to actually put that on our menu button. So let's go add. So we call it every day with rec counter. Okay, so let's save that, start process, and there's our process. Okay, close that, and save that, close that, save that, close that, and let's try it. Run it again. So now we've got every day with rec counter. If we run that, we're expecting to see 31 records with each date and numbered 1 to 31. First to the 31st of the 3rd, do it, and we start it correctly there at number 1, and we go through to the end at number 31. Perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. Alright, so let's change it slightly. Let's just say we didn't want to do that. We now wanted to do basically exactly the same thing, but we only wanted to create one for every second day between the range. Okay? Well, how do we do that? So a little bit different again. Okay? So take it out of test. Let's copy that again. And this one we're going to call create every second date with counter. So let's see how we would change this. So again, the first rule would be exactly the same. And let's have a look at this one. A little bit more complicated. Because it's too wide, what we're going to do is put it in textual form. Okay. So what we really want to do, we want to go from 0 to the day difference. And now we want to go to the number of days divided by 2. So this day difference here, day difference, that gives us 31. We then want to divide that by 2. So let's just go and divide that by 2 for a start. And then we want to go with the date. Let's go and let's change this. Oh, no, sorry, let's do this. So so we don't need much change here because the loop iteration now is just going to go from 1 up to half the number of days. So really all we need to do is here is put this as multiplied by 2. So it's the start date, the date added the start date of the loop iteration by 2. That's correct. And this record counter, I think, would be just loop iteration. Okay, I think that's right. We'll try it and see how we go. So back to the query, put our query on here. Every second day. Start a process. Every second day. Okay, let's try again. So there's that bit, and we'll go and run it. So we've now got every second day. Let's delete the records and let's see what happens. So we've still got the 1st of the 3rd and the 31st of the 3rd, and we run it. So we've got the 1st of the 3rd through to the 31st, perfect. Now this here, we just need this to be incremented by 1 because it starts at 0. So let's just delete that. We actually shouldn't have taken that off. Let's go to here. So this loop iteration plus 1 would be fine. Okay, still. Save. Okay. Run it again. every second day. Dates are right. And there we go, 1 to 16, from the 1st through to the 31st, every second day. And there you have it. It's all pretty simple, but quite powerful, and you can use it for many different things, and of course you can get quite fancy and complicated depending on the calculations you want to do, knowing what's actually the value of that loop counter. So you've just got to keep in mind the loop iteration. The loop iteration will hold the current value as we loop from the start to the finish, and you can use that basically any way you like. Okay, thank you very much.